Guys, we'll start the show soon here. Monday edition of the show. Take a look at the screen for today's headlines. The top two headlines I find very intriguing. We now have medical school faculty that are claiming on the record that Jim Ryan and other leaders of the University of Virginia are lying as it applies to this UVA health system integrity fiasco and, frankly, fraudulent billing debacle. I'm going to ask you this question. University of Virginia students, according to the honor code, cannot lie, cheat, or steal. And if they are caught lying, cheating, or stealing, they face expulsion from the University of Virginia per the honor code.
Yep.
Can the president of the University of Virginia be held accountable by the same honor code if there is proof or evidence that he has lied, cheated, or stolen? If there is evidence that Jim Ryan has, in fact, lied about what's happened here with UVA Health, is he held accountable by the same honor code standards as the University of Virginia students? I want to talk about that today. It's an intriguing topic. We're also going to talk about CRHA. Sean Tubbs has got good reporting that in October of next year, 2025, the CRHA will move into its new headquarters on the downtown mall. I want you to think about the downtown mall now and consider how a handful of the vacant storefronts in downtown Charlottesville are being filled by government or political entities, including some in the most prominent location. The old Seville Weekly headquarters is the outpost for Robert F. Kennedy. The building formerly home to Vita Nova's Pizza and the escape room is going to be the headquarters of the Redevelopment and Housing Authority. Parks and Rec is on the downtown mall, and so is a inmate assimilation outfit on the downtown mall. Think about government and political entities renting storefronts on the downtown mall, and let's unpack if that's best for the vibrancy and economic strength of the most important 8 blocks in the region. Let's talk about that today. We're going to also talk on today's program the fact that Albemarle County supervisors and Charlottesville city councilors will meet in person. When is the in-person meeting, Judah?
I believe they've already met.
For the first time since COVID?
Yeah, last week.
All right, make sure we got that confirmation. I found that surprising. We'll talk about that today. Like and share the show. If you're watching on Facebook, like the show and share the show, please. That would mean the world to us. We really want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Search Jerry Miller Now on YouTube, and you can find us over there. Vanessa Parkhill, thank you for watching. We really would like to grow the YouTube channel with subscribers. If you could do that, that would mean the world to us. Judah, I'm going to ask you which headline you find most appealing here when the program starts. We can rock and roll when you are ready, Judah. Give me 3 seconds. Give them a little tease of what you're excited to talk about today.
I mean, how could you not be excited to talk more about this developing story at UVA? It keeps unfolding, and it's like a Matryoshka doll. Is that what they're called? Matryoshka doll? You know those.
It's an SAT word right there.
You know those Russian dolls, nested dolls. They sit inside each other. It's like every time you open one, there's another one inside.
Oh, I love those dolls.
Yeah.
They go from the bigger ones to the smaller ones?
Yeah.
Those are so cool.
Every time we pull some information out of UVA, we open it up, and the next day there's a little bit more information.
You go with the fancy-dancy approach. I would just say there's many layers to this onion. That's just the layman's approach. I like yours better.
Thank you.
My friend will rock and roll when you're ready.
Quiet on the
Shoot, I
set.
can you spell that?
Probably.
Yeah, you're a good speller. I am not a good speller.
Quiet on the set.
Good Monday afternoon, guys. I'm Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us on the I Love Seville show. It's a new week here in Charlottesville, Virginia. Is it the last week of September? We have a Monday of next week. That's the 30th of September. So we're about to be in the fourth quarter of 2024. 2024 has flown by. I mean, it's absolutely flown by. So much to cover on the show. We're going to continue this. Do you call it a debacle? Do you call it a developing story? Do you call it
Both?
a
Developing debacle?
developing debacle, Judah suggests? PR nightmare? I mean,
Yeah.
now we have medical school faculty going on the record.
Yeah. You wanted names. We got a name.
We have names now on the record saying, guys, UVA has known about this for a while. Jim Ryan's known about this for a while, and Jim Ryan is straight up lying.
Yeah.
That story over the weekend in the Daily Progress. We said on this talk show when this story developed, when this story first broke, Cavalier Daily did the initial reporting, that this would be a story of monumental proportions. So far, it's living up to that billing. I'm going to ask you, the viewer and listener, this question. The honor code at the University of Virginia is one of the most esteemed elements of Thomas Jefferson's University. It's a single sanction honor code, although some are trying to water it down with empathy, patience, and second chances. The Jefferson Council, the president, Thomas Neal, of the Jefferson Council, will be on this talk show October 3rd. So that is a week from this Thursday. One of the key aspects the Jefferson Council was created for and what it's lobbying for is to maintain the single sanction nature of the honor code. That honor code is rooted on this philosophy. Any UVA student who lies, cheats, or steals will be booted from the school. I'm going to ask you this question. Is the president of the university also held accountable by lying, cheating, or stealing, and expulsion from the school? If there's documented proof or evidence that President Jim Ryan has lied or covered up, misrepresented this medical school debacle, story, fraud, nepotism, cronyism, bullying, changing medical records to maintain performance standards, overpaying C-suite, utilizing promotions as leverage and power to keep people quiet, and system of fear. If Ryan knew about this all along and has proven that he lied about it, is he held accountable by the honor code? We'll talk about that today. It's a crazy story. Oh my goodness. Another storyline we have to cover. Last week we analyzed the unfortunate news of a six-year-old bringing a loaded handgun to kindergarten. Mm-hmm. A 6-year-old bringing a loaded handgun to Orange County Elementary. The fallout from this loaded handgun in the backpack of a 6-year-old has been significant. Now Orange County Public Schools, its superintendent, in a message sent to parents late last week, is considering all aspects of safety, including metal detectors and panic buttons that teachers will wear on their person, almost like that television commercial, the Life Alert, when grandma or grandpa fall in their house and they push a button around their neck and gets the paramedics coming to their house. Teachers may be wearing life alerts at Orange County Public Schools because a 6-year-old brought a loaded gun to school.
Along with adding surveillance cameras.
Along with surveillance cameras. There's a small portion of the Charlottesville community that is freaking out right now about the flock system, where there's going to be surveillance cameras reading license plates
Yeah.
to kind of track and prevent criminal behavior. And a small portion, led by the Gillikin gang, are freaking out about flock cameras reading license plates. How are they going to respond to cameras reading kids? Think about that. If you're freaking about license plate readers, how about student readers? We'll talk about that on today's program. We'll also on today's show talk the Charlottesville Redevelopment and Housing Authority. Sean Tubbs' excellent reporting in his community Substack, a timeline now that the CRHA will open its headquarters on the downtown mall in the old Vita Nova building, the old escape room building, the building right next to the old hardware store. CRHA is going to move in October of next year, so October 2025. It's also going to be home to two other nonprofits, Tubbs reports. Ladies and gentlemen, the downtown mall is very quickly being tennisized. Is that a word?
Tennisized?
The downtown mall is quickly becoming home to many nonprofits and government entities. Parks and Rec has a storefront on the downtown mall. The Charlottesville Redevelopment and Housing Authority has a storefront on the downtown mall. The Robert Kennedy Charlottesville Outpost has a storefront on the downtown mall. The city has a storefront on the downtown mall for I think it's called Operation Hope. It's a organization that helps folks that served hard time in the slammer assimilate back into society. Is that a good fit for the most important 8 blocks in the 300,000 person market we call Central Virginia? I also found this interesting. Judah did as well. Albemarle County supervisors and Charlottesville city councilors met for the first time in person since COVID. When was that, Judah?
COVID started in March.
No, we know when COVID started, March of 2020. When did the soups and councilors meet?
Last Wednesday.
Last Wednesday, the first time in person.
Mm-hmm.
Last Wednesday. We'll talk about that on today's show. And we'll also talk UVA pounding Coastal Carolina. The Who's 3-1 overall, 1-0 in conference play. They head into the bye week. We'll give some love to Pro Renata. Dr. John Shabe goes from Judah Pro Renata. He goes from dentist to beer baron. Mm-hmm. If we want to get a little imagery on screen for PRN. We were there this past weekend. We were there to watch the UVA game, my wife and our boys. Had some Dino's Pizza, some hazy skylines. Pro Renata make big-time moves in downtown Stanton, in the Shenandoah Valley, and now at PRN Plus. Their original location in Crozet is evolved into a sports bar of pretty significant proportions and a music venue. Family atmosphere. The Disney World of Crozet, Pro Renata. Two shot on Judah. I ask you the same question every time. Kevin Higgins, I'm going to get to your comments in a matter of moments. Bill McChesney, I'm going to get to your comments in a matter of moments. A couple of media outlets watching us right now. Neil Williamson, good afternoon as well. Which headline do you find most intriguing, Judah Wickhauer?
Like I said, I'm fascinated with this story about UVA and just the whole. I mean, it seemed fairly obvious that Ryan had to be lying because there's too much of this that takes it outside the realm of just a bunch of disaffected employees at the university.
Do you want to set the who, what, when, where, why now of the coverage over the weekend in the Daily Progress? Good work from the DP on this. Pretty compelling coverage. Pretty damning coverage if this is proven to be true here.
Yeah. This is a UVA health physician who has come out, named himself, and said that he's basically been talking to the UVA senators and telling them that they need to hear the honest truth. And part of that is that Ryan has been lying about all these claims of vagueness and him not knowing about any of these allegations, and this UVA health physician is alleging that Ryan has known about this stuff all along.
His name, we have a name on the record. That's one of the things I highlighted when the story first broke. The anonymous nature of the 128 physicians that signed the letter. We're now starting to get names on the record.
And he's saying that they're wise to have done that, and that they've been having issues with retaliation. And he said it's far more than 128 people, but not many people want to risk themselves.
But this man is. His name.
This is Dr. Stephen Culp.
Spell the last name for the viewers and listeners.
CULP. He is a UVA health physician and a member of the UVA Faculty Senate.
He's on record in front of the UVA Faculty Senate saying Jim Ryan has known about this all along. And Jim Ryan's letter, the letter he wrote a short time ago, which was a response to the initial letter from the 128 anonymous doctors, he said Jim Ryan's letter was bogus and a lie. He's saying Ryan and his lieutenants have known about this all along.
University administrators have been well aware of the allegations in the letter sent to the school's governing Board of Visitors on September 5th for the better part of the year.
Holy jeez!
If not more, and not the few months Ryan has claimed. Administrators were handed the names of multiple complicit employees, not just Dr. Craig Kent and Dr. Melina Kibbe, both of whom the letter's signatories have called on to resign. He says, I can stand here before you honestly and claim these statements to be categorically false.
Jim Ryan's statements are categorically false, he's saying.
Of Ryan's statements. And this he said while addressing the Faculty Senate.
This guy is saying in a UVA Faculty Senate meeting on the record that Jim Ryan is categorically lying.
And that he knows that it's more than just generalized anonymous claims.
So I ask you this question. I think it's a fair one to ask. If the single sanction honor code for students says if you're caught lying, cheating, or stealing, you're expelled from UVA, does that single sanction honor code apply to the face of the university, the president himself, Jim Ryan?
I mean, obviously he can't be expelled.
Has he basically painted himself into a box or into a position he cannot get out of? Compounding matters. Consider the last 12 months for Ryan. He refuses to release UVA the investigation report when it applied to the murder of the 3 football players on grounds.
I'm still okay with that.
I disagree completely with you. He initiates the state police to pepper spray kids at a pro-Palestine protest in May.
He called them in. I find it highly doubtful that he gave them orders.
He called them in. The tour guide debacle, where tour guides were suspended. I mean, holy crap. Now this, where someone on the record in a faculty senate meeting on the record is saying the dude is straight up lying? This story is not going to go away. If anything, I think it's gaining momentum. Also in this meeting, the faculty meeting, the guy, Dr. Culp, said the doctors, the lower level ones, the middle management basically, had to be anonymous because if they signed their names to it, they would have been denied promotions.
And he's saying that several people have already been dealing with that type of
retribution.
Yeah.
Because of speaking out against leadership on the record or filling out feedback cards. This is a significant story in the Daily Progress. Ryan's tenure in Charlottesville started in the most romantic way possible.
Yeah.
It started with the president jogging at 7 a.m., encouraging students to meet him on grounds for a jaunt around Charlottesville. It started with Ryan creating committees of stakeholders and leaders in the community to discuss affordable housing and to discuss UVA's role in the greater Charlottesville area. His time in Charlottesville continued with the president running noteworthy marathons in New York and Boston to benefit the Children's Hospital. During COVID, he presented compelling commentary, sitting on the perch of his desk in his president's office, tie half-mast, and Oxford white button-down sleeves rolled up past his elbows, a la Barack Obama during his campaign trail. He came across as approachable, as human, as authentic. And now, because of the last 6 to 12 months,
I'd say he spent a lot of his political capital.
His equity has been eroded to zero, and his balance may be negative. And we have a faculty member on the record saying he's categorically lied.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask this question of the viewers and listeners. You ready for this one? Bear with me here. We have asked all along, and I said this from day one, who called in the state police to pepper spray the kids at the protest in May? I said from day one, this does not reek of Ryan.
Yeah.
And it should perhaps be linked to Youngkin. Youngkin is on the record clearly opposed to the direction the university has pursued under Jim Ryan's leadership. Was there enough forward thinking or gamesmanship from Youngkin to call the state police in knowing it was going to stick to Ryan? That stink was going to stick to Ryan because Youngkin already had the intel about this UVA health debacle.
Interesting.
Did Youngkin know, the Dr. Culp and the faculty senate meeting said what? That Ryan and the BOV and leadership have known about the UVA health fraud, medical chart changing, fraudulent billing, cronyism, nepotism, bullying, abuse of power, overpaying the C-suite. He said, how long have they known about that?
In early 2024, Culp and other School of Medicine faculty members began to reach out to the faculty senate and university leadership, writing multiple open letters and raising the alarm over over the toxic work environment in the health system. They had on March 5th, a working meeting was held with more than 200 faculty members in the School of Medicine. And this is when Culp says that not long after that, reports of retaliatory behavior directed towards faculty members began to increase.
So Youngkin from early 2024 knew of one of the largest employers in the Commonwealth, 30,000 plus employees tied to UVA Health. The governor of Virginia knew from early 2024 that nepotism, cronyism, fraudulent billing, medical chart changing to maintain performance standards was happening at one of the largest employers in the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
Did he,
at least that long,
a gamesman of significant forward-thinking proportions, Governor Youngkin, a guy from hedge fund, private equity background, did he compound the stink that stuck to Ryan by ordering the state police for the disbandment of the pro-Palestine protests, pepper spraying kids?
It's an interesting theory, but why would Ryan just sit back and take that?
What was he supposed to do?
He could have come out and made a statement saying that
this ain't me,
clearly a mistake, and I didn't call in the state police. I mean, I don't know. We don't know how We don't know how
This is insane.
he's got his hands tied.
Exactly. Because, and crazy to say, the president's middle management compared to the governor. Because the BOV is the one that manages the president.
Yeah.
And the BOV is now controlled by Youngkin, with 13 dudes and dudettes on the BOV, courtesy of the governor.
Although I believe President Ryan still has control of what they discuss when they meet, which is interesting.
We're certainly going to have this conversation with the president of the Jefferson Council on October 3rd when he's on the show, Thomas Neal.
Yeah.
It's something that we should be considering. I'll close this topic by asking
Hold
this
on.
question.
On Friday, the Culp's fellow senators agreed with what he was talking about, and due to their unsatisfaction with how things have been handled, they have unanimously passed a motion, this was Friday, to show support for their colleagues in the School of Medicine.
Say it again. That's a big deal.
Yeah. Culp's remarks struck a chord Friday with his fellow senators. They're calling it a watershed moment for UVA, and unsatisfied with how the administration has been handling the crisis at the School of Medicine, Faculty Senate has unanimously passed a motion to show support for their colleagues in the School of Medicine.
We're at the tip of the iceberg of this story. Neil Williamson, I'm going to get to your tweets and the response from that Charlottesville City Council, Albemarle County Board of Supervisors meeting that the president of the Free Enterprise Forum covered closely on Twitter. John Blair, number 2 in the family, his photo on screen. Anything John Blair says, I value. He has this commentary. Jerry, I loved your prop bet about the Lewis Mountain neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Our prop bet is an over-under of 9 homes that hit the market from a for sale standpoint. They don't have to close. They don't have to go pending. They just have to be for sale. Since we made that prop bet a handful of weeks ago, we set the over-under at 9 houses in Lewis Mountain going on the market for sale. Judah took the over, so he needs 10 or more. He's got 3 in his corner right now. If 8 or less hit the market for sale, I win. We have a bottle of, hold on. A bottle of Johnny Walker Black, just like this, on the line. How do you feel about that bet?
I'm probably going to lose it.
You're going to lose it? You're not feeling confident?
I mean, it could go either way, but 10's a lot.
You made the bet.
I know.
Okay. John Blair says this. Here are 3 other bets for your listeners based on your show's great topics. Number 1. You listen to these? Viewers and listeners, listen to these. Will Jim Ryan be president of the university on September 1, 2025?
That's a good one.
Number 2. Will the UVA football team make a bowl at the end of the season? Number 3. There are 2 seats on the Seville City Council and 3 Board of Supervisor seats in Albemarle County up in 2025. Will the Republicans nominate a candidate for any of the 5 positions?
Ooh.
I'd love for you and Judah to set the lines for those 3. Thanks for these great shows. John Blair, we appreciate you. You make the program especially great. The viewers and listeners with your comments especially do. Neil Williamson, I'm going to get to your fantastic comments in a matter of moments. Jim Ryan, president of the university, September 1, 2025.
Those are really good, John. Thank you.
Do you think he's president of the university September 1, 2025?
My, whatever I call my instincts.
Your gut? Your intuition?
I'm being sarcastic, and I'm joking that I don't have a whole lot of instinct, but
For it to be a joke, people have to know it's a joke.
no, they don't.
But wouldn't that just be a joke that only you think is funny? If a tree falls in the woods and no one hears it, does the tree fall in the woods?
Does
if
anyone
Judah
laugh?
makes a joke and no one laughs but Judah. Look, Judah's laughing his ass off right now at this joke. Is it a joke?
We're talking about it and we're laughing.
Is Ryan president on September 1, 2025?
Something tells me no. I mean, if I were him, I wouldn't want to stick around there.
Why is he staying around?
No idea.
I mean, look, I empathize for the person. Like, I have sympathy and empathy for the person. Just like I have sympathy and empathy for the government officials that put themselves in the crossfire.
Yeah.
But part of the job is dealing with this. The president of the university is, in essence, a politician. And his job, probably first and foremost, is to navigate the political waters that are the Board of Visitors and the lieutenants at the university, the heads of the various departments at UVA. Manage the wealthy donors, manage the governor, or stay in the good graces of the governor, the good graces of the BOV, manage the heads of his respective schools and departments, keep fundraising going in the right direction, and stay out of the effing news. Stay out of the news. It wasn't until last week that the university, in a committee from the university said, maybe, Jim, you shouldn't offer commentary on events not tied to the University of Virginia. No, duh, dude.
Yeah.
The president of UVA, just like Charlottesville City Council, should not be pontificating on geopolitical issues. No one gives a rat's tail what city council or the Board of Visitors have to say about Palestine and Israel and Gaza, the Gaza Strip, and warfare across the world.
Unless they've got a political science PhD, which
No, even if they do, they shouldn't offer that commentary.
but at least then they would have some experience to fall back on in which to comment.
Natalie Oshrin, an event planner who's a city councilor who works at Pippin Hill doing $250,000 a year weddings, should not be talking about the Gaza Strip, Palestine, or Israel. She should not be talking about Ukraine, Putin, and Russia. And she should not be talking about Trump and Kamala Harris. She should be talking about whether the Charlottesville Redevelopment and Housing Authority should continue expanding its portfolio like it's trying to do right now with purchases around the city.
Yeah.
And whether it's a good fit that government entities are renting the storefronts of the downtown mall. Parks and Rec on the downtown mall with the storefront. CRHA on the downtown mall with the storefront. A nonprofit that helps convicts that served hard time in the slammer assimilate back into the community, a storefront on the downtown mall. The side of the downtown mall where the free speech wall is, the Ting Pavilion side, the City Hall side, is a scary place right now that folks don't want to go to when it gets to be nighttime. Guess what? I woke up this morning. My alarm clock goes off at 6 a.m. My wife and I wake up every morning. We get out of bed. We say one phrase immediately to each other. It's time to make the donuts. It's a play on what bakers have to do when they get up at 3 or 4 in the morning to get their bakeries going with baked goods freshly made that day. Think about that life. That's a challenging life. That's what we say when the alarm goes off at 6 a.m. By 7:20, between 7:20 and 7:25 a.m., I'm out the door with our oldest son driving him to school. We have an hour and 20 minutes to do all the morning routine and get going. Take Max, the German Shepherd, out so he can pee, poop, and eat some kibble. Throw the tennis ball in the backyard for him 10 times so he can get some energy before I put him on the deck. My wife gets our oldest son's lunchbox ready to go and his French toast sticks in the toaster. I get our 22-month-old up. I unzip his sleep sack off, take it off his body, smell his diaper, make sure there's no bathroom issue there, no number 2. Bring him out there, sit him on the table, help him eat his French toast sticks. I get my gym bag packed. We get our oldest son dressed and his shoes on, and in an hour and 20 minutes, we try to be out the door to make it to school on time. Get him there a little bit early so he can have 20 minutes before school starts. It is a organized chaos. Time to make the donuts in the morning.
You going some more with that?
The point is this. This is my point. One of the things John Castine did well, the president who was tenured at UVA forever. Now, Castine had the advantage of not living in a digital social media society.
Yeah, 100%.
So some of Castine's transgressions, and trust me, they were many, and we're not going to
I've
go down
heard of
that
some
rabbit
of
hole.
them.
We've heard them here with heavy hitters that come into the studio. Some of Castine's transgressions weren't on blast like they are now.
Yeah.
Teresa Sullivan, how long did she make it? 5, 6 years? Jim Ryan, when did Jim Ryan start? Jim Ryan started what? I'll tell you right now. 2018. He's been on the clock for 6 years. 6 years for Ryan. This position is similar to that of a city manager or an athletic director, a head football coach. Oftentimes you try to get out of the gig before the gig gets you out. Good questions from John Blair. And I would say this. Ryan, September 2025, will he be on the job? I put the odds on 60-40 against him being employed at UVA. Will Virginia make a bowl game? The fact that five win teams can make bowl games in a watered-down bowl ecosystem, I'll say Virginia's going to make a bowl game because they got 3. And his question, 2 seats on council and 3 on the Board of Supervisors coming up in 2025, will the Republicans nominate a candidate for any of those 5 positions? I say absolutely they will. Absolutely they will. Will the candidate have a chance of winning? Probably not.
Yeah.
The next headline, Judah Wickhauer, if we can put it on screen. I want to put this headline on screen. Supervisors and counselors in-person meeting first time since COVID. Put that in lower third capacity if you could, please. Neil Williamson has a couple of tweets that he sent out about this on Twitter, and he highlights that thread in the I Love CVille group. Neil Williamson also offers this commentary, and he's going to be hosting Real Talk with me on Friday at 10:15 a.m., the president of the Free Enterprise Forum. It's a dealer's choice, so the president of the Free Enterprise Forum can bring a guest with him if he would like. He says, my tweets from the joint Charlottesville City Council Albemarle Board of Supervisors meeting last week. There are 2 big takeaways from this meeting, and this is the first in-person meeting for the soups and the counselors since the start of the pandemic. He said the 2 big takeaways, Judah, 1/3 of UVA employees do not live in Charlottesville or Albemarle County. Think about that.
Yeah.
1/3 of UVA employees do not live in the city or Albemarle County. And he also said Brian Pinkston indicates he feels the city is underfunded by 10 to 15%.
Wow.
I want to ask you, the viewer and listener, this question. The city is underfunded by 10 to 15% according to Councilor Brian Pinkston, who also works for UVA. And he's one of the employees at UVA who does live in the city because a councilor of Charlottesville.
Yeah.
How is the city underfunded by 10 to 15% if the following has happened? Real estate has skyrocketed since COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Much of the revenue for the budget derived from taxes on rooftops.
Yeah.
We learned in 2023 from the Charlottesville Albemarle Convention and Visitors Bureau that nearly $1 billion of economic revenue was generated by tourism, creating $47 million of tax revenue for Charlottesville and Albemarle County.
Was it 3% of Virginia's total?
3% of Virginia's total tourism was generated in Charlottesville and Albemarle County.
Yeah.
How the hell is the city underfunded? You know what the answer to that is, ladies and gentlemen?
What are they funding?
No, it's a very clear reason why the city, according to Brian Pinkston, is underfunded. You want me to tell you what it is? They're spending too much money.
That's why I said, what are they funding?
You got a household budget. You got X amount of dollars. You got to buy some milk. You got to buy some eggs. You got to buy some bacon, some chicken, some cereal, some Pampers, some wipes.
And if you're running short, maybe don't pay for every single one of the streaming services every month. Drop
Netflix. Drop Amazon Prime. Let go of HBO Max. How about not offer an $8.7 million bridge loan to Habitat and PHA? How about not purchase the dirt from Wendell Wood in a floodplain on High Street and go ahead and allow Bo Carrington to build 250 apartments that you can tax? You're underfunded. Let's go ahead and give $8 million to a nonprofit that's going to do development and have the project completed sometime in the year 2030 decade. And let's take a park on the banks of the Rivanna, something that we're going to have to maintain as opposed to allow it to be apartments. Underfunded. Buczynski, SHB. There's no fat to cut in the city budget. Sarah Hill Buczynski, I see the sarcasm on your comment right there. Appreciate SHB. Underfunded. Come on. Underfunded. Did B. Pinkston just say, we're going to have to figure out a way to raise taxes? Is that Pinkston's way of saying we're going to have to raise taxes? Remember, Juan Diego Wade on 1070 WINA, Jay James's morning show. Juan Diego Wade, the mayor, outed Brian Pinkston and told everyone on Jay James's show that Brian Pinkston was going to run for re-election. Then Brian Pinkston was on Jay James's morning show a couple of days later, and Jay James said, the mayor said you're running for re-election. Congratulations, we're excited. And Brian Pinkston said, what? He did what? I haven't made that official. And then he has to hedge because it's the effing mayor who said it. And he goes, well, we're seriously considering it. And yeah, I guess I'm going to run for re-election. So you got a guy that's an incumbent that's obviously having conversations with the mayor. Juan Diego Wade, I'll bet you a bottle of Johnny Walker, he's going to run for re-election. They're already setting the groundwork in place in a joint city councilor, Albemarle County supervisor meeting, the first in-person meeting since the start of the pandemic, saying we're underfunded by 10 to 15%. Giddy up and get ready, Charlottesville taxpayers, because less money is going to stay in your household and more money is going to go to City Hall. And if people don't think that has an impact on gentrifying the community and making it white and homogenous and wealthy, then you're not reading the tea leaves correctly. Underfunded. How about you cut some freaking spending? God, underfunded. Eventually what's going to happen is this community is going to be like, well, you know, the way that we've always been running the city with one party having a dominant control is pretty much caused Charlottesville to become just a bastion and a playground of millionaires, and perhaps we should be doing something differently. Underfunded. Am I wrong? I
don't think you're wrong.
Dennis Kantanen. I'm butchering your last name, Dennis, on YouTube. President Ryan does not have kids in local schools anymore. His daughter went to Yale and is a freshman. She graduated this year from Western. That comment right there alludes to the president and John Blair's bet, maybe having one foot out the door. Mm-hmm. When you're a football coach or an athletic director or a city manager, Maurice Jones did this well. Maurice Jones saw some of the writing on the wall in Charlottesville. The NBC 29 sportscaster turned communications director turned city manager. He pieced out of Charlottesville. Charlottesville City Council opted not to renew his contract when it was set to end December 2018. And then he left to become the town manager of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Sometimes it's best to leave the job before the job does you in.
Yeah.
Because then you can put on your resume when you're trying to get a future job or when you're considering your legacy and how it's going to be written after you have passed away as not having a pink slip as opposed to you going out on your own way. Underfunded. Jesus, Logan Wells Claylo, welcome to the broadcast. Brian Pinkston's setting up a case to raise taxes. Vanessa Parkhill. How old is Jim Ryan? Jim Ryan is 58. Just turned 58. God, the man's birthday was on the 21st of September. The man's birthday was 2 days ago. The day the article...
Happy birthday.
The day the article comes out in the Daily Progress where someone in the faculty senate is calling him a liar,
Yeah.
was his birthday. You think you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Wakes up on his birthday and someone in the faculty senate, a doctor, is calling him a liar on the record.
Happy birthday. What's in the paper?
And a single sanctioned University of Virginia. We should get the terms of his contract. VP, Queen of Earlysville, we should. We'll talk about all these things with Thomas Neal, the president of the Jefferson Council, on October 3rd. Bill McChesney says Brian Pinkston is crazy. They urinate away. He didn't use the word urinate. I'm just going to use that word now for the sake of the talk show. A surplus every year, no break for already stressed taxpayers. That's bulldoggy. I added bulldoggy. He used a different word. I'm sure county leaders appreciate that comment at revenue sharing agreement. Good Lord. Deep Throat, his photo on screen. Ryan put himself in contention for the presidencies of Harvard and Yale. It did not happen for him, but it wasn't for lack of willingness or trying, so I suspect he's looking for a way out. By the way, that UVA stat is very misleading, the one from Brian Pinkston. I will have some numbers for you shortly, but using administrative data sets, I can show you that the percentage of UVA employees who live outside the city and county has not changed in the last decade by very much, and it actually decreased. Wow. I'd love to get those numbers, Deep Throat. He also says this, I will also tell you that the people who do not live in the city and county are not always doing so for economic reasons. In my wife's department, there are tons of people who live in Richmond because they don't need to be in the office very much post-pandemic, and they find Charlottesville stifling and racist. I don't agree with them on that last point, but it is what it is. They could totally afford to live here. I would love that data, Deep Throat. Happily relay it live on air and trust your judgment 1,000%. Anything you want to add to this, Judah, before we get to the Orange County storyline, which any other day, that would be the lead of the talk show.
I mean, I was going to say it's nice that they're working together, but if they're working together to raise our taxes...
Kevin Higgins and Georgia Gilmer, welcome to the program. The craziest thing of the story is they refused to release the investigative report on the 3 murdered football players.
How is that
And
the
they're
craziest
refusing
part?
to release the investigative report done by the third-party law firm on the cronyism, nepotism, fraudulent billing, and changing of the medical charts to maintain performance standards at UVA Health. Mm-hmm. If you don't release reports when folks in your community have radars out and major concerns, then you're further breeding a culture of shadiness and sketchiness.
And distrust.
Yeah. Got to get to the Orange County story at the 1:20 marker of today's show. Put that lower third on screen. Guys, last week a 6-year-old showed up to an elementary school in Orange County, Virginia with a loaded gun in his backpack. So far, no arrests have been made. How are no arrests been made so far? No, seriously. A 6-year-old brings a loaded gun to school and no arrests have been made so far. Okay, I'm just going to leave it at that. The gun was found. Parents weren't notified for hours after the gun was found. Many parents heard about this secondhand through social media or the rumor mill. Parents were pissed. I'd be pissed. Superintendent notifies parents late last week, we got a problem on our hands. We've had hoaxes, people calling in threats, and then we had a 6-year-old bring a gun to school. So now everything is on the table. Any option is on the table. And that includes metal detectors at all our schools, teachers wearing panic buttons.
Yeah.
This is like the life alert buttons. I've fallen and I can't get up, Steve Urkel Family Matters style. where your grandma and your granddad fall down the stairs and they push a button around their neck and the paramedics come and their family comes, they've been alerted. Now teachers may have to wear life alerts around their chest when the you-know-what hits the fan. Also, what they are considering is surveillance cameras in the schools of Orange. A 6-year-old brings a gun, it's loaded. Orange County doesn't handle it that well by notifying parents. Parents are ridiculously pissed. Now the superintendent is telling parents, we hear you, and we're going to do everything we can to maintain the safety of your kids. Metal detectors, life alerts on teachers, and surveillance cameras. I'm going to put this in perspective. The Gillikin gang is raising a fuss on Twitter about the flock system. Cameras that are reading license plates to prevent criminal activity, to track criminal activity.
It's not to prevent.
To track, to gauge, to try to police criminal activity. Do you prefer that language?
Yeah, that works.
License plates in the city, if a criminal does something, the license plate readers can track where the criminal is going. You give me that?
Yeah.
The Gillikin gang is raising a fuss about Flock and what Chief Kochis is trying to do. How are they going to respond to student readers, to cameras in schools that are tracking students?
They're not tracking students, though.
What do you mean they're not tracking students? What are surveillance cameras for? You're telling me a surveillance camera does not track students?
A surveillance camera, I think in most cases, is a backward-looking piece of technology. It's not about, there's nobody that's going to be sitting at the school watching however many cameras they put in.
How is that any different than the Flock system?
Because there's not going to be anyone sitting in front of a computer watching all of the flock cameras either.
That's what I'm saying. It's the same thing.
I know. They're
The
backward.
Flock, okay, so this is my point. Are you agreeing that the Flock system and the cameras in Orange County schools are the same thing?
Yeah, essentially. They're
Okay.
just cameras. They're not sitting there like
That's all I need to hear from you.
sending messages to someone
They're the
about
same thing, right?
your face
Okay.
and your car.
Are the Flock system and the cameras in Orange County schools the same thing?
Essentially, I would think. Yeah.
The people are raising a you-know-what storm about the cameras with Flock. How are they going to respond to these tracking minors? Tracking minors. No, seriously, I have that question
I know.
for you.
I had issues with. I said, how are parents going to react to every school having locked doors and metal detectors? I feel this is a similar thing here. I'm sure a lot of parents will have a problem with it, but if you think about it logically, nobody's going to hire someone to sit in front of a computer and stare at live security camera footage 8 hours out of the day.
No, I agree 100% with you. But it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And the community is raising a ruckus over Flock. How do you think they're going to respond to tracking minors?
I mean, you're using inflammatory language. I don't know that it's
okay.
tracking.
You're doing that thing.
No, I am doing that thing because
Okay. How are they going to use...
how are they going to respond to schools recording their kids?
Thank you. Okay, you say it that way. I said the same thing. We can go with your language. How are they going to respond to if they're having a poop storm over recording license plates tied to potential criminal behavior? How are they going to respond to recording minors in schools? That's the point.
Yeah. I don't think some of them won't respond well. But as I was saying, if you think about it logically, nobody's archiving hundreds of thousands of hours of your child.
I know that. That's the point.
And
you want to hear
telling
something
this to
crazy? You want to hear something crazy? Okay. I'm a parent of 2. We are a parent of 2. I am all for metal detectors, teachers wearing life alerts, and surveillance cameras in schools. All for it. And bring it on. Keep my kids safe when they're not in my wife or my supervision. And bring it on.
All right, but just to add this, and not that I'm against any of those things, but who pays for that?
Probably taxpayers.
Yeah, and we were just talking about
Probably taxpayers.
yeah. I have
Maybe
no doubt.
maybe you could get grants. Maybe. But probably taxpayers.
Yeah. That would be my guess as well.
Crazy. And what else is crazy about this is Orange County Public Schools may lead the charge into this new era of digital supervision. Orange County Public Schools. Not Charlottesville, not Elmore County, not the deep pocketed ones. And it could be because of the fallout of how a 6-year-old with a loaded gun in an elementary school was managed and handled.
That'll get a lot of parents up in arms.
Exactly. Think about that. Effing crazy.
Now, just a hypothetical.
Oh.
What if you wanted all of those things and nobody was going for it, and so you engineered a situation where parents would be outraged and demand those types of things?
That's a hell of a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, I'm not saying that that's
I think
what went
a
down.
better conspiracy theory that's much more applicable, not throwing shade on your conspiracy theory, although I think it's ridiculously far-fetched, is this question. What if the data or the footage from the cameras gets in the hands of the wrong people?
I think
That's a
with,
question I really have.
I think with the flock cameras, we have an answer to that already.
Right. But
It's
do we
unlikely
have
to happen.
Right. It's
don't
not.
know-
Koch just got in front of that story because the Gillikin gang said this could get in the hands of the wrong people. And Koch
Yeah.
just got in front of that right away. This is the question. With the minors, with the kids, what if the data gets in the hands of the wrong people?
What if what if all they're doing is installing video cameras and a closed circuit system and some type of system to record?
You don't even have to go down that hole. We can allow the viewers and listeners to
Yeah.
figure that on their own.
This would not necessarily have the protections that the flock system does.
Bingo. Bingo. A lot of people have concerns about the baby monitors in their kids' room. The baby monitors in the kids' room that watch babies sleep.
Because they think somebody can pick up
It's tied
the frequency.
No, it's tied to the Wi-Fi of the house. And if you can jump on the Wi-Fi signal of the house, then you got a
Yeah.
bird's eye view on the baby sleeping, the kid sleeping.
And anywhere else somebody has video cameras around the
Exactly.
house.
Exactly. Leave it at that. This comes in direct message capacity. The movement of government and not-for-profits to the downtown mall is troubling. I frequent the downtown mall much less often than a few years ago due to a combo of the busking that is different from the music and artists when I first moved here, which adds to the charm, and now more beggars and nuances or nuisances are happening there. He continues, I was walking the Pearl Street Mall last summer, and it reminded me of our mall of a decade ago. Much more commerce, diverse restaurants, and family options. Underfunded, I rolled. I'm underfunded too, he says. Yeah. And Pinkston's running for re-election. SHB giving you some props. I see what you're suggesting there, Judah.
Thank you.
Crazy times. What other topics do we have to get to on today's program?
We've got, CRHA moving to Downtown Mall HQ on October of 2025.
We covered that. Charlottesville Redevelopment Housing Authority is opening its headquarters, which it purchased for just under $3 million earlier this year. They're renovating it, and they're going to move into their headquarters on the downtown mall, smack dab in the middle of the mall, in October of 2025. Good Lord.
Government entities renting downtown storefronts.
Let's
which we
put
talked
a
about.
redevelopment and housing authority right in the middle of the mall, and at the end of the mall that has a lot of trouble, let's put a organization that helps convicts that did hard time in the slammer assimilate back into the community where they're waiting outside the entrance to said place. That'll be good for business. Then the other headline we did last week, the supervisors and counselors met in person for the first time since COVID. Final topics, is it football and president?
Yep.
Virginia football is heading into its bye week. It beat Coastal Carolina, guys. Annihilated Coastal Carolina.
Was it
Absolutely annihilated.
47 to something?
40-something, a lot less.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that on the Jerry and Jerry show tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. Virginia's 3-1, 1-0 in conference play. They head into their bye week, and coming out of their bye, they have a very good Boston College football team. According to the ESPN Power Poll, Virginia is favored in no more games the rest of the season.
Wow.
Favored in no more games at this point of the year. Las Vegas had the over-under at 3.5 wins for Virginia in 2024. The odds makers in Vegas at the start of the season. They have 3 right now.
And you don't think they'll win another either?
I didn't say that. I said ESPN does not have them favored in nothing else. I think this team actually will surprise some people and win 5 or 6 games.
Wow.
I think this Boston College game at home is a hugely important game. And if you start 4-1, 1-0 in conference play, I would not be surprised if Virginia's in the receiving votes portion of the coaches poll and the Associated Press top 25. And I'll close with this, a reminder note. Jefferson Council President Thomas Neal will join us on the talk show October 3rd. It's going to be a doozy. Judah Wickower and Jerry Miller on the Monday edition of the I Love CVille show, which was a doozy. Spread the love, guys. Spread the gospel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and support a partner like Mexicali Restaurant, Judah. Mexicali, some imagery on screen. The Old World of Beer location. 50 parking spots on site. This is a bona fide restaurant, a dining experience that will leave you wanting a lot more. Johnny Ornelas and River Hawkins at Mexicali. So long, everybody.